So this is Ben and Bill from Crow Studios, and we've been watching a lot of Boondockery's videos about meals that he makes out in the woods, and MREs, and all of the other types of camping food. And we've done a fair amount of camping ourselves. We had sort of a bad experience this fall when we were eating an older MRE that I picked up in an Army surplus store. The M&Ms had turned to dust, and the wrapping on the Pop-Tart tasted better than the Pop-Tart itself. The regular meal was okay though, right?
Yeah. We had like these relicories or ravioli.
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 Yeah. So what we're going to do today is I have gone to a couple of different dollar stores and picked up just different ingredients, things that I think that would be good in a meal out in the middle of the woods. And I'm building MREs for us sort of on the cheap. I put them together I initially got all of these things because I was trying to make our larder a little deeper and to have them on hand, but I was thinking if I put them together in actual meals, then if we do go camping or something, I could just grab one and go, and that will also help us with our rotation so that we can kind of keep things freshened up in here. Some of the other things we have in here is just some different dried meals. Vegetable beef, chicken flavored, fettuccine.
And we also have this dried milk.
Dried milk, yep. So initially I started just bagging some of these things up using the vacuum sealer to put some things together, but then I started getting a little more specific and started building those meals and also writing directions on the packages where I thought I was going to need it. So right here I have the split peas, and I have in here what you would need to do to cook those. You'd have to soak them overnight or boil them in water. There's a Pop-Tart in here, and there is a package of buttery home-style potatoes, and then one of the airborne tabs. With the MREs, they put so much extra stuff in here because of each individual meal. They always have the spoon and the paper, and they have the heaters in there that John from Boondockery pointed out almost never work. None of these have worked in this pack that I've gotten so far, so I don't depend on them, and I think that they're kind of a waste. I would be depending more on just cooking over a fire or cooking with a stove. These, I think all of that extra stuff just adds unnecessary weight. So, for example, this full MRE weighs this weighs 1 pound, 2.7 ounces. Okay. And this meal that I put together that I think probably has more actual food to it and less packaging, it weighs about 13 ounces. So significantly lighter than the full MRE.
The airborne tab has dissolved all the way, and now let's try it.
Is it good?
It's pretty good.
And you were trying some of these pear crisps earlier. What did you think of those?
They were pretty sweet, they're dry.
They're dry? Is that something that you would eat out in the woods if we were camping?
Mm-hmm.
They weigh almost nothing, right?
Yep.
They're very
They don't even weigh an ounce.
Yep, they didn't even weigh 1 ounce. A full package of those. Yeah. So these apple crisps, like I said, I went to a dollar store to pick up some of these things, and then I went to a super discount grocery store to pick up some of the other things. This is one of the things. I got these. So that's another consideration, honestly, is that the price of MREs and also freeze-dried meals is pretty high. So I picked up some of these things because they're a lot cheaper now. Of course, they're not going to last. These freeze-dried meals, like the 4 Patriot freeze-dried meal, be good for 25 years. I don't think I'm going to get 25 years out of these meals, but if I keep a rotating stock on, shouldn't be too much of a consideration. So obviously, you know, as you see that I have all of these things all laid out here, the buying MREs or buying prepackaged meals is clearly a lot easier. So this is sort of more along the lines, I guess, of, I mean, clearly I will have saved a lot of money because I think the unit price of MREs ends up being like, $12 to $15, and these will probably be down into the realm of just $1 or $2. But it does, obviously it takes time. So what I've done here is I have doled out some of this vegetable beef soup into this Mylar bag, and also have added directions on there as to what will be needed to be done. I've also started writing out, and so Ben and I looked at what we had here, and we started to plan out exactly what our meal was going to be. So there'll be vegetable beef soup, there'll be some freeze-dried apples, we're going to have a can of this armored potted meat. Now I know that's going to add some weight, but again, I feel like we're so far underweight with taking out the heater and some of the other things that we can afford this extra weight. I'm also going to put in this pack some Swiss Miss, some coffee, and there will also be some mashed potatoes, and then I'm going to have a pack of this a Goya spice mix that has like coriander. It does have MSG. It's probably not the best thing for you. It's got coriander and salt and stuff like that in there, but for the occasional meal, I think that's going to be fine. What I'm doing here, like I said, I already scooped out the vegetable soup, so the next thing that I need to do is to get out 2 ounces of potatoes from the potato bag here. So I wasn't able to get a full 2 ounces in there. In fact, it's going to be closer to 1 ounce, which might work out actually better. I feel like that's going to be plenty of potatoes for one person. I'm putting these together as like one person meal, so that's yeah. So we need to cut this down to, and I'm doing all my writing with Sharpie markers because I feel like they do better at like lasting. So 1 cup of boiling water, 2 ounces of mashed potatoes, 1 cup of boiling water. All right. Okay, let's set that aside here.
And let's get on to the Kipper snacks.
Not yet, buddy.
Hey, can I help you make some noodles?
Yeah. Here. Just the coffee. Yeah. Alright, that's a good bit of coffee. That'll make a bunch of coffee. You probably have some left over, I think, even with that, depending on how heavy of a coffee drinker you are. Right, don't screw around, please. Take the spoon out. Set that aside. Now we're going to do the hot chocolate.
As you may know, that kids go crazy about hot chocolate.
So that's how we're doing that, putting these all in these little Mylar bags, and then the next step is that we're going to put them into our sealed food saver bag. So we're vacuum sealing these meals. When you put it, if you haven't used one of these vacuum sealers before, if you put an open-ended bag in here and hit the button, it's going to try to vacuum. But if you just want it to seal, then you just hit the little stop button here. It makes a nice little seal in there. Okay, and we have a bag now. So it's open-ended. It's this roll. This vacuum seal stuff comes in rolls like this, and you can make it as long or short as you want. So in goes our beef soup. Again, like I said, this is a meal for one person. Let's put our big bags in first. We'll freeze-dried apples.
Because big goes on the bottom, small goes on the top. If small goes on the bottom, big will come down.
Mashed potatoes, coffee, our Goya, our Swiss Miss,
Don't forget hot cocoa.
Hot cocoa's in there. That's the Swiss Miss. Our armored meat.
Armored meat.
Okay.
It's armored meat.
And we're gonna put one of these airborne tabs in.
Can I put in the airborne tab? It's not in the airborne tab.
Yep, here, let me hold it up and put it in there. Let's see if we. Okay, alright. So we got all our stuff in there.
Now it's time to vacuum seal.
Now we're gonna try to vacuum seal this. And try to kind of put things in here with the description face up so we could sort of move it around and see what's in here. So the next thing is to put it in here. See if we can vacuum sealed.
Seal it. Seal it. Now it's putting the seal on.
Let's put in the seal on. Vacuum seal.
Is there any air in there?
Shouldn't be. And that's it. It's all done up. Let's okay. We're gonna turn this guy on again. And let's for comparison again we're gonna put the MRE on here again for weight. And again that's let's come up at 1 pound 4 ounces. And mine came up to 11 ounces. Okay, so that's a lot less. So I would call this a lunch or a dinner, probably more like a dinner because we have to cook the soup. So maybe on the next one that we build here, we're going to build a lunch, and then maybe we'll build a breakfast as well. A lot of times when you're on the trail and you're hiking, you don't really want to stop to get your stove and stuff out. There is freeze-dried strawberries. I'm gonna look around a little bit and see what else I've got here that I can add to make a cold lunch meal. All right, so I dug around and I found a granola bar here, a chewy dipped chocolate candy bar here to put in there. And then I happen to know that John loves Vienna sausages, and these are in barbecue flavored sauce. So it's going to be the Vienna sausages, the sardines, the airborne, freeze-dried strawberries, and a chewy dipped chocolate bar. Let's weigh it up here real quick since we have those heavy cans in there. Zero it out. Ooh, it's a little bit heavier. It's comparable to the dinner meal though. It's 13 ounces, so still way under what an MRE weighs. All right, I'm building a breakfast here. So we're doing 2 packets of oatmeal, maple spice, and apple cinnamon. That went into 1 Mylar bag here. I might have cut myself a little short here. Some freeze-dried apples. We've got dried milk, Swiss Miss, coffee, and an airborne. Let's see if we can get it sealed up. Get close here. So let's take a look again at our weight. We're all zeroed out here. Weight is 6 ounces, 6.6 ounces. Breakfast. All right, so that's a breakfast and that's a lunch that we put together. You can send off all 3 to John at Boondockery, and he can take a look at those and see, what he thinks and how it compares to the MREs of the other meals that he's had. I definitely have less than $5 in each meal for sure. Especially like this breakfast one is going to be really, really cheap. Maybe over the days I may try to figure out exactly how much that or at least approximately how much I have invested in each one of these meals, but it's going to be a lot less than a Mountain House meal or one of the Fort Patriots meals or an MRE. Again, these may not have the shelf life that those meals do, but they are vacuum sealed, they're in Mylar bags, and so they are going to have a very significant, as long as the food that I was using, and all of this food that I checked at the stores as I was purchasing, I was going through purposely checking for the longest expiration date that I could find on these different meals. So I know that they have at least a 2 to 3 year shelf life, and probably significantly longer. So we'll get these off to Boondockery and we'll see what John has to say about them. Good luck, John. I hope you love them. We'll see you.